Hello, Togozan, somebody's here. Togozani guys, please just drop some hearts if you can hear me. This is very important that you hear me. Please, thank you so much. Thank you guys. Demoho, hello, Mpo, hi, Chili, hi, my nanas, how are you doing? Hi, everyone, it's been a minute. Ken, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. You guys can hear me, right? Vuyo, thank you, sweetheart, nice to see you. Thank you. Guys, please share away, share. Now, I have a very special guest and as we start this live, I'm going to bring him on in a minute. This is Mkhulu Nsingiza. Pumla, how are you? Simpiwe, Lerato. I like your middle name, Lerato. Confidence. Yes. Hello, Red. Hi, guys. Thokozani, Chamagwini, Lesedi, Lekhanya, Dumelang, Kwaziwai, Kedu, Jambo. Kilo Day. How is everybody? Community? Brenda, no, you can't join the video, Brenda. How? Brenda? Hey, wapapa, Brenda. Yes, I am super excited too, guys, and here is why. As African people, we have lost so much. Yeah, you are inside the inside. Yes, I like that. We have lost so much as a people. And what makes this life so significant is that you will come to an understanding of why it is so important to be aligned with who we truly are. I've spoken about this on videos when discussing being aligned as far as your ancestors are concerned. But there is an even bigger alignment. Remember, we are spirit beings having a human experience. And our being on this planet Earth is very much influenced by many cosmic events, cosmic shifts, geographic, environmental shifts. And the calendar is in a very, very important part of who we are based on our makeup as Bagwantu. And Mkhulu Nsingiza is an expert on these things. And I wanted to bring him on because I think this will be life-changing for all of us. And like I want to stress that this is not necessarily just about ancestrally gifted people. But Mkhulu, please let me know when you're on. Then I can bring you on because then we can get started. It's going to be information-packed. Wangari, how are you, Wangari? I take it you're coming in from Kenya. Thank you. Palesa, good. Rose, how are you? Dumelang. When you come to understand the calendar and the significance of a calendar, I think it will broaden your understanding of who you are, and also it will assist you on your own spiritual journey as an African child, as a daughter of the soil, wherever you are in the world. The calendar is really significant. Puseletso, how are you? I'm now trying to see. I have people here who are requesting. Let me see who it is. No, you guys, please do not request to come onto this live. We are actually waiting for our guest to come on. And like I said, if you guys see him or if you see me, Mkhulu, let me know and you can come on and we can get started. So I have actually got a personal story to tell about my journey with this calendar. And what I'll do is in the next coming weeks is I will share my personal story for you so that you can maybe relate or understand the significance of this calendar and what it means for you as an individual, also spiritually. But Mkhulu has so much knowledge about how the calendar works. And hopefully today we'll be able to break it down for you guys and simply so. And Mkhulu will also have a great announcement for those in South Africa right now. Nomfundo, how are you? I see you are dancing. So am I. I'm dancing in my heart, Kelly. Violet, how are you? Vuyelwa, how are you? Ignatia, how are you doing? Ah, there is Mkhulu. Mkhulu, please send a request and I will get you on. I don't see. Guys, please stop requesting to come onto this live. There's Mkhulu. So, Mkhulu is on. Yes, there's Mkhulu. Send invite. Yes, let's see. Mkhulu, come. We've been waiting, Mkhulu. Bring them on the video. Thokoza siyavusela Mkhulu ninjani?
Siyaphila njani Ndlovukazi?
Siyaphila Mkhulu, what a great honor to have you on here with us. I'm so excited. And actually when I reached out to your organization, I actually had no idea I'd end up talking to you. I had no expectation whatsoever because I take it you are extremely busy, but I felt it was so important for us to have this conversation on this particular platform because of some of the things that I teach and share, which I'm very passionate about, and also understanding the significance of this calendar for myself personally, as I have learned more and more on my journey, what it has done for me to be aligned with this calendar. And it's information that I think you are best placed to share on and to teach Abagwantu about this calendar and its significance to us in contemporary Africa. Because I think for many people, when they hear of the African calendar, it's almost like an esoteric thing. We've lived with the current Gregorian calendar for so long. There are some people who didn't even know that we actually have a calendar of our own. So Mkhulu, please, before we go any further, please tell us a little bit about who you are. Tell us a little bit about how you come into this work that is so critical and so important.
Yes. Thokoza Ndlovukazi ngivusele nakubo bonke abantu who are watching us. Ndlovukazi ngibonga ithuba nje lokuthi sixhumane mina nawe because we need ukuthi sihlangane singabantu nje who think alike in terms of the passion about Africa. How do we rise again as Africans, people? We can never rise as slaves like we were. So therefore, it means ukuthi we need to relook at everything that we're doing, starting with the calendar. Before singena ku calendar, I am Mkhulu Nsingiza, elokuzalwa uZwelibandla Hlongwane. Mkhulu Nsingiza eledlozi. I'm the CEO of the Zinzi Mandela Foundation and also co-founder of the Great Empire of Kemet. Umsebenzi lo ngafundiswa ubab Credo. I was taught by ubab Credo everything I know. He's the one who actually enlightened us about the calendar. He's the one who revealed that the oldest stone calendar in the world is here in South Africa, in Mpumalanga, where we'll be going on from the 21st of September. We'll be there. Just as the sun enters, the imaginary line of the equator, it 3 days. Takes 3 days, for that to happen. Like you said in Ndlovukazi, a lot of us are not even aware that, we are using a wrong calendar, because we are using a calendar that is based on the Northern Hemisphere, which means, therefore, yonke into besilokho siyenza over the years, yizeleze, because we are kneeling at the wrong time. And, kwayona lento le ukuthi, whoever, establishes, a time for you, controls your mind,
Yes.
which is very important.
Yes.
And the calendar that we are using, it's nothing new. We're just reviving an ancient, calendar system that our ancestors were using over the years.
Yes.
The calendar is based on the equinoxes as well as, the solstices.
Yes.
Just to, explain a bit, we are on the Southern Hemisphere. Remember, ukuthi umhlaba uhlukane kabili, is divided into two. There's the Northern Hemisphere, there's the Southern Hemisphere.
Yes.
Currently, the sun has left, the Northern Hemisphere, lisuke lapha on the 21st of June. That is when, the day of the winter solstice.
Yes.
And tina sithi njikalanga, because that's when the sun now makes a U-turn to come back to the Southern Hemisphere.
Yes.
And that, period will be confirmed, by September the 23rd, the day of the spring equinox. What happens on the 21st of September, the sun officially enters the imaginary line of the equator, and it takes 3 days, 21, 22, 23rd. It makes 1 degree southwards, which then signifies a new cycle for the Southern Hemisphere. We call the African New Year. Because, yes. And what is great about it is that this affects the whole continent. Remember, Uguti, Ethiopia, they usher in their new year on the 11th of September. So September is the month. And if you remember, Ethiopia is just next door to Egypt. So Egypt can be different from what affects Ethiopia. Therefore, it says, the calendar year to affects all of us, yes, from north to south, south to north, east, west. We are affected by the same energy on the continent, which is why we then started a campaign to re-educate, people internationally, Black people, about the original calendar that all our ancestors used to use. Remember, Uguti, Ndlovukazi, a lot of people, they know the new year to be the first of January.
Yeah.
And now calculate, Ndlovukazi, in the African sense, uLenduza, December represents, is the month of maturity.
Yes.
Meaning Uguti, everything is matured. Therefore, you cannot start the year when everything is matured.
Right.
September in isiZulu, it's called umandulo.
Yes.
Which means ukuthi inyanga endulela unyanga. Currently sikuncwaba, which is August. Yes. That is the ending of a cycle. Yes. Because from August esingena kulenduza ku September.
So
but it's a little bit tricky because the calculation yakhona, remember ukuthi according to our revolution around the sun, it date, the first of every month, according to our calculation and our calendar, is the 23rd.
That's right.
It's not the first of the month.
Right.
This is according to our revolution, around, the sun. So there are a lot of, adjustments that needs to be done. But currently we said we should just focus on promoting the African New Year, because what has been a challenge for us in our own country, we witness all other races celebrating their New Year, and Tina Sinayo.
Exactly.
We don't have our own, the indigenous New Year, and yet we are the introducers of the calendar.
Yes.
We are the people who started the calendar.
Yes.
All meaning the African calendar is the mother of all calendars. Yes. Because all of them then took that information to go and form their own things. Ngizoma kancane Ndlovukazi, if kunemibuzo nama-comment,
yes,
I will then indulge.
Yes, Mkhulu. You said something that is really significant, and I think for Africans in the diaspora, and by that I mean African Americans, Cuban Americans, people in the West Indies, anyone of melanated skin who originates in Africa, this information is significant to you too. There is a sense in which so many of us, and I know because right now I'm situated in the Northern Hemisphere, and for so long we have felt misaligned. We have felt that sense of dis-ease about who we are, not necessarily on a cognitive level, but literally on a spiritual and DNA level, where you feel that you are partaking in rituals such as Easter, you are partaking in rituals such as Christmas, and yet and still it's like you are a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. And I think that aligning with our calendar, look, like you said, Mkhulu, here in America, the Chinese celebrate Chinese New Year. The Vietnamese celebrate their own New Year. Every other group has their own calendar around which they have sacred rituals, whether it be for their religion or spirituality, whatever you want to call it. And they adhere to this, even though they are not in the mother country. So I want everyone who's in the diaspora to understand that, yes, as African people, we are situated in the North, but that does not stop us from aligning with our calendar, because that calendar it's not just a calendar of numbers and dates. It is about how our bodies function. It is about how our spirits function. Remember, we are spirit beings having a human experience. And so this body, yes, is a conduit for spirit. And that misalignment, my sense, and through my own thinking and using this calendar for myself, has really allowed me to come into a sense of feeling. That's number one. Number two, I think in terms of also feeling like part of something bigger than ourselves, knowing that we have a homeland that has its own calendar, that has its own rituals around this calendar, has also been really, really liberating. I mean, I'm teaching my children about this calendar. We sit and we talk about, going to the question that I want to ask you, Mkhulu, we talk about Kemet. Please enlighten our beautiful, beautiful brothers and sisters here about what is Kemet, where is Kemet? Because there is this misconception that Kemet equals Egypt. So can we elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, thanks, for that, guys. Kemet means black, and it refers to Africa and its people. We have a movement called the Great Empire of Kemet.
Yes.
The Great Empire of Kemet, this is what united, African kingdoms in the past. They all belong to this great empire.
Oh, we've lost Mkhulu. Mkhulu, you dropped off. I don't know what happened. Let's see if Mkhulu shows up again. Let me know when you show up again, Mkhulu, and I'll have you back on. Sorry, guys. And so what Mkhulu is actually talking about is the truth, guys. When we hear of the kingdom of Kemet, can you guys hear me still? Just want to make sure people are still hearing me at least. When we talk about the great empire of Kemet, the great empire of Kemet is Africa, right? Like Mkhulu said, Kemet means black. Yeah, we'll wait for Mkhulu, but so that there's no dead sound, I'll keep talking. And I know Mkhulu does not have graphics, but how do we know this? How do we know this? I've got something I want to show you guys. You know that one of my favorite symbols is right here, the Ankh, right? Guess where there is an Ankh? You see this Ankh? It's actually on one of the rocks in South Africa. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? It tells you that the idea of Kemet is not a place called Egypt. Kemet is Africa. And there are many symbols that are being found on rocks throughout Southern Africa, throughout the entire African continent, that unify all of us. One of these is the Ankh. Mkhulu, I hope you come on because we need you. So what Mkhulu is saying is the absolute truth. And you know, you get people who call themselves Kemetic scholars who limit their study to Egypt or ancient Egypt. But the truth of the matter is, and Baba Credo also said this, is what was going on in Egypt, the civilization in Egypt is actually younger than the civilization in Southern Africa. So what does that actually tell you about Southern Africa when we talk about the cradle of humankind? Told you you're going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind. So understanding that, Mkhulu, you're back. Yes, Mkhulu. Let's bring you back on. Go. Joining. Mkhulu.
Oh, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but I'm sorry.
No problem.
What I was still trying to explain, Uguti, the only time that Africa was united, it was through the great empire of Kemet. Here, and that involved a lot of, royal houses, various kingdoms on the continent. The kingdoms here in the south called themselves Bonabakhulu Khemu, meaning Uguti, it was the brotherhood, of men throughout the whole continent, a union of, kingdoms that decided to unite. So these are the people, we credit for bringing civilization in the world, because Amakos, these are royals that civilized, Umhlaba. These are royals that gave us the calendar. These are royals that gave us astronomy, astrology, the science, the mathematics. That is the structure. So we then decided, when we started to form a movement, we then decided to name it the Great Empire of Kemet, because it is our longing as Black people to come together, and unite as Africans. And remember that it's going to be difficult for us to be united under the structure of these republics that we live under. Republics on the continent is just a perpetuation or a continuation of colonization, because the republics are a theft. When they were formed, our land was balkanized and put under these companies. Right from Egypt to South Africa, Africa Yonke is ruled under republics. This is what we need to deal with. We need to bring these structures down, because our leaders were then supposed for you to be able to rebuild, you need to destroy something. So what was supposed to be destroyed right from the time of Kwame Nkrumah, it was these republics. Until here in South Africa, we still suffer the same thing, because these republics have actually held and taken our land as well as our economy. That is why there's still so much poverty on the continent, despite the fact that we are the best in terms of natural resources. So our problem is these republics and the leaders who are still refusing to accept the African calendar. We've been on this with Indlovukazi Winnie Mandela as well as Indlovukazi Zulu for over 20 years, trying to knock at these at the doors of a government for them to allow us to teach this calendar. But it's been, those doors have been closed ever since until now. That is why we said we will do it on our own.
Amen.
Slowly, Black people will come to that consciousness that they have their own calendar, and they can, be proudly say, Gucci, they also have their own New Year. So the unity, yes, Kemet, it involves all lands of, Black people. Actually, we can say and claim that the whole world belongs to us. The whole world is Kemet because we are the firstborn. We're the first ones to be civilized. We're the first people. If you were to read most of the books written by Ronuko Rashidi, he has done a scientific research to confirm that, African people are the first citizens in the world. Wherever you go, you find that the more digger, you dig, the more deep you dig, you find the blackness. In China, the first emperor of China was Emperor Fusi from Ethiopia. So all over the world, we can claim that we are the first citizens of the world. Thokoza
Mkhulu, and I love that you touch on the subject of African people being the first people, and African people having actually, most people think that African people went to the Northern Hemisphere or all around the world through slavery. That is one of the biggest lies that's been told by the history books, because actually being situated in the Northern Hemisphere, I've had opportunities to travel. One of the places I've been to is a place called Belize, where they have the Mayan ruins. Now, if you go there and you look at the Aztec civilization in South America, you are amazed at some of the statues that have Negroid features. And for a long time, these statues and pyramids, Mkhulu, afterwards I'll send you pictures because it's fascinating. These pyramids were attributed to the people who were at that time called the natives of that land. But now historians, Latin American historians, are speaking the truth and saying, no, there are people called the Olmecs who were here long before we were. These are the people who built these pyramids. So throughout what we call Latin America or South America, there are remnants of Africa that weren't introduced by slavery. Take note, guys. Yes, slavery introduced another wave, if you like, of African people to that part of the world. But the original Africans went and helped civilize. There are documents now being written, there are books being written that show that they went to help civilize, to advance nations. Here in America itself, there are Native Americans who have their physiological and physiognomical features are African, only to find out that no, they weren't mixing with Africans from the slave trade. These are people who were interacting, who were African in origin. The Cherokee Nation is one of those. So if you look, for example, I always do this experiment where I show people jewelry of Native Americans and jewelry from Southern Africa. And I have it right here because I teach about this a lot in Mkhulu, where I ask somebody, this earring that you see, is it African? Is it African or is it Native American? And most people say, ah, no, this is from Africa. It's not. It's Native American. I got this at a Native American market, and I have plenty of others. So what does that tell us? Even the geometric patterns that are in this jewelry, when I first saw them, I was like, Aibo, Njani. But I understood better how this could be, because we really were way before even white people were created, because they're only 6,000 years old.
Oh, so, no, certainly. Just on that one, Ndlovukazi, you need to look at Dr. Ivan van Sertima.
Yes.
Dr. Ivan van Sertima says, you know, all these other races only appeared only 55,000 years ago. Right. You know, before that, the whole world was black. Yeah. So therefore, it means that everything that you see that is associated with a civilization, you know, it was done by African people. You know, all over the world, there are pyramids in China, there are pyramids all over the world. And it's not strange, but the beauty about it is that most of these structures are, you know, they were put along what is called the ley lines, which is, you know, the line of longitude and the line of latitude. So, so that they are able to enhance the energy that emanates, you know, above.
And that is absolutely true, Mkhulu, because one of the things that I'm going to teach on this platforms are some of the sacred sites that united us under Kemet in different parts of Africa. And you will find that there is great alignment. The simplest one that I have is, of course, Great Zimbabwe, Adam's pyramids or Adam's calendar, going all the way to the Great Pyramid, which sits along this ley line right here.
Yes, yes.
You see?
That is the Nile meridian, the golden meridian. Actually, in Ndlovukazi, that is the path of the electromagnetic field of Earth.
Yes, and that is the thing. This topic is so broad, and I'm just getting so excited because that is another topic to talk about, the fact that the Earth has chakras. The Earth has energy fields, just like we do, right? So as above, so below. One of the things, Mkhulu, that I think is so significant about understanding the role of this calendar and alignment for us as Black people is the calendar is based on the movement of the sun, but it's also based on the movement of cosmic bodies in the atmosphere. And as African people, our body's makeup is predominantly carbon, which is found in the stars, which is found under the sea, which is found on Earth, as above, so below. And if we are not aligned with the movement of these carbon bodies that contain our makeup, then of course, no matter how we try and what we do, we will always feel as if we are not in our own skin, so to speak.
No, sure.
This is really important, guys, and I want you to understand this. Those of you who are ancestrally gifted know we've talked about alignment with your ancestors, but there is, like I've said, a bigger alignment, which is alignment with nature, alignment with the cosmos, alignment with the moon and her movements, alignment with the sun and his movements, alignment with the stars. Africans were great astrologers. And what I love about Mkhulu, we are going to put a link where people can get the calendar, the booklet, and all the information concerning. I don't have one yet. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. But what is so important about that is when you understand what is happening in the cosmic bodies, in the heavenly bodies, with the role of the moon, I've spoken about moon energy, the role of the sun, you will better understand what is going on in your body, particularly women, because we are so full of ups and downs and this and that. And ancestrally gifted people, 1 minute you are having a headache, things are ringing in your ears. I believe firmly that a true alignment with who we are as African people will ease some of those aches. African people, we have such a hard time on this planet. Everything we do just seems so much harder for us than for everybody else. Do you know why? Because we are misaligned.
That is so true.
Yeah.
No comment of God.
Because for me, my understanding is of life is it's a flow. It's an ebb and flow. Most of the time we are not flowing because we're swimming against the current. We are not swimming with the energies that we're supposed to be swimming with. When you get aligned, life becomes easy. Why is wealth so hard to get for so many people, right?
Yeah.
I'm not talking just on a physical, but we know that as people, as humans, as spirits having a human experience, we can speak things into existence. Mara, why is it hard for us Africans? There are no people on this planet who go on their knees like African people. And yet and still we find ourselves in the same spot. I believe firmly it's because we are not aligned with the energies of flow, where things will come to us the way they should come to us once we are aligned.
Yes. No, that's true, because remember, Guti, Tina, our bodies are just a conglomerate of atoms.
Yes.
So when you are not aligned, you are messing up with your electrons and neutrons, all these things inside us. So meaning what you are confusing your system.
That's it.
And all that has to do is consciousness. Remember, Ntofukazi, we live in 3 worlds. There's the causal plane, which is the plane of Umvelincane noNomkhubulwane, which is the sun and the moon.
And the moon.
Then there's the etheric plane. The etheric plane, that is where Okhokho bethu are. That is where, everything else, is laid before the physical. Then there's the physical.
Exactly.
The etheric layer, they project outwardly. Meaning, we are spirit. We are that etheric, layer, which then projects outwardly into physicality. That is why, in the Kemetic sense, there's no death.
Yes.
Because you can't destroy energy.
Right.
We keep renewing ourselves.
Yes.
When the body is no longer able to make this, spirit inside you live, it then, the spirit, gets out. The body, we say we used to. But in the African sense now, so even the body is very important, which is why our ancestors were mummifying. They didn't want the body to rot, right?
Yes,
because when
exactly.
the body rots, remember that carbon is here in the body. What we call melanin. So if we protect this body, this is what keeps the contact, the communication. Remember, melanin is that communication molecule which sends and receives. So when they preserve it, when we go to their tomb, we talk to them because the melanin is still prevalent in their system. So that's why we go to graves. We're not talking there with bones, but we're talking through the remnant of the melanin that is still there in that bone.
Amen. That is absolutely beautiful, Mkhulu. I love the way you have phrased that, because a lot of the times I have often said to myself, my gosh, the loss of our land as African people is bigger than just loss of economic power or power to produce food for ourselves. The loss of ancestral lands is such an integral and important thing for us, and has been, which is why, for example, I come from Zimbabwe. In our village where we come from, the family grave plot is literally part of the yard. People are not buried. We don't have a graveyard. People are not buried in graveyards. People will pay huge sums of money to move a body from Harare when someone dies to go and bury them in their homeland. Something that when I was young, I didn't understand. I mean, just go and bury a body, right? Person's gone. But the way you explain it makes sense in that this remnant, these remnants or this body and the melanin, you see, melanin or carbon does not degrade, right?
Yes.
So it is there in that grave. That is why, like you say, graves are so important. And that's why they were cared for. And people wanted a body to bury. We always say for closure.
Yes.
On one level for closure, but on another level, the deeper significance is lo muntu wethu mase sifuna ukuxhumana naye. Sifuna indawo yakhe yokulala where we can go and make that connection. I often tell, some of my kids or my patients that I consult, because a gogo will come and say, you have not come to meet me at my grave. And I'll ask, when was the last time you went to Gogo's grave? And you'll say, since we buried her. And it's like, okay, you need to make because she's waiting. This is where not that she's waiting in the physical for you, but there is a part of her that is eternal, even in the bodily sense, that will allow you to connect with her spirit there. Guys, are we hearing each other? I want to see people. Give me some love hearts if you're hearing what is going on here. Yes, we need to keep in contact because it's so easy to get lost in you and me talking, because this stuff is really after my own soul, if you like. Good, great. Everybody can understand us, Mkhulu.
Yes, Ntovukazi, which is why, our healing has got to start with all of us working towards African unity. Yes. And the calendar is the most practical, instrument we can use. Whether you are in the US, you are in the UK, when it comes to the 23rd of September, we all kneeling, and welcoming the sun on that day in the motherland. Just like what the Chinese and the Jews do. It doesn't matter where they are. If in Israel, they're celebrating New Year, they join in. So we need to develop that culture, because that will then give us the leverage to truly unite as Black people outside religion and politics. Because these two structures will never unite, Black people. As long as Africa is still ruled by republics, you won't find there, you won't see any unity. Remember, the efforts of Kwame Nkrumah trying to unite, then, which was opposed by a group of Abonyerere. Why? Because it was, self-preservation. I'm still busy sorting myself, So even now, when you project, there's no leader on the continent that is willing to give up power for the benefit of a collective. So when you project, you don't see any brighter future for the continent unless we ordinary people on the ground unite and show them what we want, not what they've been feeding us all this time.
Mkhulu, you mentioned something very important, and somebody always says to me, you know what, we are spiritual people, can we please leave the politics out of it? And I'm like, most times, how? Because as spiritual people, the very essence of our Africanness is spirituality. Spirituality is our way of life, put it that way. As it is our way of life, how then do you say politics doesn't come in? Politics is only coming in the sense that the structures that we are using within our so-called political system are actually structures that are colonial. Yes. And they were laid on purpose. And even right now, as you and I are speaking, Mkhulu, we are seeing all sorts of Zulu. I'm hearing things about what all this means. Some I'm told to shut up, but some I'm told to share. Sometimes people shut me up because they're like, hey, when you are not South African, you're from Zimbabwe, shut up. And I'm like, yo, way, I didn't choose.
You have a right. You are a Black person. anything that affects Umtomyama, you have a right to comment on. Because I have a right to comment on matters that say Zimbabwe, because
Absolutely.
Zimbabwe is me. You know, I'm Zimbabwe. You
Exactly.
know, so whatever happens there affects me here. I've got to have a view, you know, and we all have a view. We understand and appreciate, Gucci, you know, the decision is with the Zulu royal house. But whatever happens there affects all of us.
That's it.
Remember, Ndlovukazi, ukuthi ubukhosi bakwaZulu. Ngizokhuluma nje as a historian and as somebody that has got these facts.
Yes.
Ever since abantu bakwaZulu were defeated by the British Olundi in the, you know, late 1800s, every king, you know, was endorsed by the Queen.
There we go. Boom. And already that's already messed up.
Now, Ndlovukazi, when you see, when the media and white people are happy with you, I'm very skeptical about you. What have you done? What comfort have you given them? Because manje Tina in South Africa, what we expect to see in the various royal houses and kingdoms, we need to see people who are emerging there with the hearts of you know, lions.
Yes.
People that are going to confront the truth.
Yes.
We need to liberate ourselves from the British you know, Empire.
Yes.
That is the thing. So anybody that ascends to the throne, to me, it doesn't matter from which kingdom, as long as he ascends and still makes white people are comfortable to still hold our land and our economy, for me, that person is not a leader.
Thokoza Mkhulu. And it's interesting you say this, because one of the conversations that has been around, if this system, this colonial system of government, clearly it's not working for Africa, this whole democracy, it's not, because it's an artificially imposed system, number one. Therefore, and it's a system that is still benefiting our colonizers, right? We know that in France, for example, there are still treaties that were signed in the 15th century, and they continue to loot. And so my question is, and has always been, even when I was younger, trying to understand why after independence did we carry on being indebted to our colonizers? And it is these old treaties, why are they still in place? Because nobody has emerged who has the courage to say, we are not doing this anymore. You are not taking from us anymore. IMF and World Bank, that whole mess, no one has ever challenged what exactly is it that they are giving to us in terms of money, and how are we paying it? And why are we having to pay people who fleeced us for centuries? I just came from Portugal and what is that other place? And Spain. I'm walking around the streets and all I'm hearing is Bajonja wonke lokhu phuma Africa. I see African symbols on some of their buildings. As for the Catholic Church, it's special. I see all the African symbols are there. Before you came on, I was actually showing people the fact that this is an old Ankh that is in South Africa. And now the Ankh is a sacred symbol. Yeah. I wear the Ankh all the time. And I was saying, but you will hear them say that the Ankh is Egyptian. No, the Ankh is Kemetic. And so Kemet is Africa. And when you speak about this issue of unity of African people, Yazi Mkhulu, South Africa is very special that way. Look at the convergence of Africans from all over the continent in South Africa. Like, I'm getting chills right now. Because my sense is there is a spirit that people may or may not be conscious of that is causing this convergence in that place as a sacred place, as the birthplace of humanity. And this calendar, like you say, is so, it will be an evolution in terms of people coming on board, but the calendar and its re-emergence is a revolution, a spiritual revolution like none other. I am totally convinced at 50 years old, after everything I've seen in my entire life, that with this calendar, we will see African unity, not Organization of African Unity, not coalition of this, not all that is based on an artificial system that will do nothing for us. That's why no matter what leader comes in, nothing changes. It's the structure in the system. So one thing I've always said, and I've learned this from my activism days, what do you do when you have structures that you cannot destroy single-handedly? You build an alternative structure next to it until that structure becomes obsolete. When people stop filling these churches at Christmas and Easter, when people stop doing these rituals that don't belong to us at that time, and more people are doing what is inherent in us and is natural to us as Africans, those structures will become obsolete.
Oh no, certainly. I fully agree. And just to add on what you were saying, remember, Guti, civilization started here in the south.
Yes.
It was refined in the north.
Yes.
Credo told us that Egypt didn't start in the north; it started here.
Yes.
That is, that is an example and a proof of what we are saying.
Yes,
Credo, all these things. Yes, that's exactly, and of God. That is proof. And also there is the oldest, stone calendar, in the world called Mazisaka is older than the pyramids of Giza. And the same stone calendar circle in Egypt. Those are younger than this one. And I don't know whether you remember, there was this Libombo bone, a scientific and mathematical artifact. There's Libombo bone as well as the Shango bone. Same thing, but the Libombo is older than the Shango.
Right. Which is
then confirmed with civilization started here. So, and what we normally say, Uguti, umoya bose north, awuseke north, solar. Remember, Ndovukazi, in north, hosted everybody. That is why it's in isiZulu city, inyakato. It was overly populated. Umhlaba bowunyakaza, inyakato. Overpopulation by Africans. And that is why we're able to reach the epitome of our civilization and development. Most of the refinement was done there. So the place of origin is the south.
Yes.
Even our ancestors say they come from the south. So it's very important ukuthi abantu base South Africa or the southern part of the continent, for them to understand ukuthi what is drawing Black people on this country. Remember, ukuthi South Africa today is hosting all people from the rest of the continent.
Yes.
Balandela lo moya ola.
Yes.
Which we South Africans are not aware of, because we are busy with Christianity, we are busy with all sorts of things that are not necessary. So therefore, abantu all over the world are looking for a leadership that has to emerge from the south and heal the rest of the continent. Because if we unite here in the south and correct izinto la in the south, it will be easy for us to go and develop the rest of the continent. So East South is a responsibility of all Africans, to work towards achieving change here, liberating and uniting Black people here. All efforts must be directed here.
Yes.
We must leave and ignore all this ignorant, talk and speech. Abantu must go to their own places. There's nothing like that when I'm of God. I own Zimbabwe. I own Tanzania. I own Egypt. The rest of the continent is my home.
That's
So
it.
if I decide to go and live in Zimbabwe tomorrow, it's my decision. I have a right to be there. So all this confusion that was brought, by these, colonizers, that we as African people have now adopted. How do you say a Zimbabwean, a Malawian, a whatever is a foreigner, and yet you live white people, you live the Chinese, you live the Jews, you don't touch them, and be busy with your own people. So people must stop cowering. We need to be bold enough and actually confront, the root cause of the problem.
Yes. And Mkhulu, it's interesting because one of the things Bob Credo said in one of his writings that I read, I study him like I always say he's my mentor, posthumous. He said, if we could remove gold from the world would become a better place because of human greed. And so the structures that are in place politically facilitate human greed. This is why I am of the mind that the structures in place will lead us nowhere. We will continue in this cycle. And remember, when, for example, any African country has serious problems with their leadership, notice how the so-called West won't bother to intervene if it doesn't touch their resources, if it doesn't touch their flow of money. What we need to understand as African people is there is no physical solution to our problem unless we go spiritual. Like Mkhulu was saying, we have the causal plane, then we have the ethereal plane in which things are decided before they manifest, in which things become real before they manifest. Our alignment with the spiritual, our alignment with our calendars, doing rituals at the right time, in the right way, aligned with the cosmos, will cause a change in the physical that we will call miraculous. I am of the belief, because I have seen it, and I'm seeing it in my dreams, in my sleep, what it is that we need to be doing. And I appeal to spiritualists, I appeal to healers, izangoma, izanusi, linabathandazeli. I appeal to you, nina besimame, because women, you have a lot of spiritual power and you're not even aware of it. Can we align with our true selves? Can we align with our true energies and start teaching people the truth? And start teaching people these truths. These are uncomfortable truths for a lot of people because we have a lot of unlearning to do before we can relearn, right? But it has come to this. We have entered a new age, Mkhulu. I don't know if you're aware now, we are out of the age of Pisces. We're now into the age of Aquarius, which is the age of the divine feminine energy. Guys, those of you who are like, oh, now women want to rule us. Nah, it's not like that. What it is it's an energy of nurture and restoration. And because so much has gone wrong in the last 6,000 years, we are now in this age where everything that was done wrong must be made right. This is the mandate. And this calendar, Mkhulu, I feel like crying right now because I'm pagamumoya, because of how profound this calendar is and aligning. Words fail me to emphasize how absolutely important it is for the people Bagwantu to know and understand this, and to know and understand that if you don't want to find your children and your grandchildren in the same situation we are finding ourselves in, it is going to be your responsibility to teach this material to your kids. Get this calendar. Go to these sacred sites. September. Join in going. Learn. Take your kids with you if it is possible. Please, because we cannot afford to have another lost generation any longer. we have come into this knowledge as adults, Mkhulu. You have no idea how hard it was even to reconnect with ancestors when you come from families where they are Christians and they have been Christians for a century before you. Where you are saying, but this ubungoma or this healing gift, iphuma kubani? Abasazi, because this was destroyed years and you are having to go through the hard task of identifying who was doing what in your lineage and how. Our children, your children, listeners, do not have to suffer the way we are suffering. We can do this work now. We can do this work now on ourselves and teach them along. Do not leave your children out of these conversations.
Yes.
Please. There are ways in which when you learn, you can teach your children. Have this calendar lying around in the home. When time comes for winter solstice or whatever, Mkhulu will be doing ritualing around that. When it comes time yokubeka amakhosi, Mkhulu will be doing things around that. Explain to your children the significance of these things. Because here's the thing. One thing I know, Mkhulu, when you take something away, for example, I always listen carefully to people who talk the Christianity is not the way. My question is, what are you replacing that with?
Yes.
Because if you leave a vacuum, there, then anything and anyone can come and plug there, and people will latch on. So as we build this revolution, as we build this new way of being as Bawantu, as African people, we must make sure we don't leave vacuums where people now are like, okay, now they're saying, okay, okay, actually there was no Jesus. Actually, the Bible is Constantine, actually. But we're not providing them with something to fill that gap. Remember, we are spirit, and spirit is always seeking. If we don't provide that, we are going to be in bigger trouble.
You are right, Ndlovukazi. And Tina, we remember we are the originators, of all these religious doctrines. What is called the Book of Coming Forth, abantu bayazi as the Book of the Dead, the Hermetica, and all the pyramid texts and all those things. We are the originators of that canon of spirituality. So abantu nje, should know which we have our own Bible. The original Bible before Wuza, the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah. The original Bible, which was a Bible that was teaching you about nature.
Yes.
Not to be how big that individual is. You must pray through that individual. No. It teaches you about the laws that govern the universe. You follow the cycles of nature, then you are in alignment. Then zonke izinto zakho, even now internally, you get balance. Because if you don't understand, we are in the season of Ma'at. We're finishing that season of Ma'at, on the 23rd. So, Sasa, we have a lecture closing Ma'at. Ma'at, it is that energy. When you look at our revolution around the sun, we are at that point, at that degree, where the energy that was let loose, in July, is now, concentrated again. So that, yes, God. So, Siguma Art, manje, after Ma'at, we will then, be welcoming Unut.
Yes.
Unut, we are Valage, so it's very important for us to understand, because there are certain energies, the prevalence of certain energies on Earth based on, the proximity between the sun and Earth. If the sun and the Earth are at this degree, there's a prevalence of this energy. As it moves around, so you need to understand that, how then do I connect? How then do I align, with the energy of the season?
Thokoza Mkhulu. I teach this too with the moon, for example. You know, we have the new moon and then the phases in between, and then we have the full moon. And ukuphahla kwakho can also align with those energies. That's why it's important to understand this calendar and what's going on, because, for example, with the moon, we use the full moon to actually release. This. And I've always told people, this is the time to do your cleansings. Now is the time. Now is the time, because it is a time of release. There are a lot of women whose menstrual cycle with the new moon, where they are releasing. It is a time of release and letting go. So all your rituals where you want to let go of something, it is not a time for asking. It is a time for releasing. It is a time for uklambulula. Because in preparation for what? The new moon.
Yes.
So understanding this on these levels is so important. And you will see ukuthi imithandazo yakho, ukuphahla kwakho is the things manifest because you are using the energy, the prevailing energy. Exactly.
Yes.
It flows, Mkhulu.
It flows. You are in alignment. Impilo yakho, you are forever creating a resonance between Izulu and Nomhlaba, which is very important. That's when you experience this natural magic we call Heka in Kemet.
Yes, Mkhulu. Mkhulu, you and I can go on forever, but
I know.
I think what was important today is to introduce this, and also to have people understand that within a month, guys, you can start partaking in rituals to align you with who you are. Omkhulu are doing this. They are going in Zalwelanga. They are going, the dates, I don't know off by heart. Gogompala, if you are here, that's one of my admins. Gogompelu umfagele link la. Ngicela ne link ye calendar where people can get this calendar la for a nominal fee, guys, for a nominal fee. Because it's not about making, it's about spreading this. You know what? Gift your family members this calendar. You know, someone has a birthday coming up, make this calendar a gift. Let's spread this calendar around so that people have something in hand that they can use and learn and understand. And I think we would be, at least before I die or I exit this body, I will have seen some amazing things. And it really is, it's super, super exciting for me, Mkhulu. And I really want to...
And another thing before Sival, abantu wherever they are, let them organize a celebration in celebration of the African New Year. Wherever you are, you know, starting from the 22nd, because the 22nd, umlindelo, that is when we do the night vision. You know, the whole night, siloko sishaya izigubhu, until the morning when we now welcoming the sun officially back on the Southern Hemisphere on the 23rd.
We will send you pictures from America, Mkhulu.
Please, I think we should do that. See, coordinating, you know, because Nanti will be alive, you know, on YouTube. So that coordination, there.
Yes, let's talk about it some more. But definitely here we are inside. We will be. Sinazo futhi latila. Sinazo sizaba sumlilo phandle zishaya abelungu bazasibizana amapholisa, but awunandaba. We will keep doing. It's our things, our religion, the freedom of religion. Yes. No, Mkhulu, this has been fantastic.
Thank you so much.
No, sibonga nina Mkhulu, sibonga namadlozana ihamba now, all the great ancestors that walk with you, may they protect you, may they keep you safe. And I really look forward to doing this again, Mkhulu.
No, anytime, Jofukazi. Remember, umsebenzi wethu lo. We need to raise the level of consciousness of our people. So whenever we are needed, we'll be there, Jofukazi.
Thokoza Mkhulu. Thank you so much. Guys, please say goodbye to Mkhulu for now. It's a goodbye for now. I am hoping that many of you will make your way to Inzalo Langa, get the information. There you can get to meet Mkhulu as well, chit-chat with him. You can get to rub on Mkhulu. Mkhulu is a protege. He's a protege of Credo Mutwa, and I can't wait for the day I can hug Mkhulu because Credo is everything. And when I found out actually that you were a protege, I was like,
Oh no, you know, guys, we always give praises to Credo because he's the one. Owavula lendlela. You know, siyabonga kakhulu guys. Thokoza.
Thokoza Mkhulu. Take care now. Bye. Bye.